Hello DevOps people, how you doing? Welcome to Monospace Mentor. Hello Frackberg. Enjoy your work. Happy to have you here. And it's time for another live coding Tuesday. Today I have a few things in mind, and I'm going to start with exploring dev containers. I recently tried out using the dev containers spec to build a development environment for my Rails application and did not quite succeed. And I'd like to revisit that because yeah, dev containers seems to become more or less the standard in terms of how to set up development environments with databases and all kinds of auxiliary services. And I would find it quite convenient if I could use the same dev environment in, say, RubyMine as well as with NeoVim. And so I'll try to get this going one more time. And if that doesn't eat up all the time I have reserved for today's stream, then we'll do a few other things as well. And I guess I need a little bit more coffee today. Fool is now joining us as well. Hello to you. Hope you're having a great Tuesday. All right then. So Sir Puffin is there as well. Hello. Oh, it's so good to see all of you. Is there anything that I'd like to catch up on? I do not think so. Anyway, if something pops up, I'll be happy to tell it to you. All right, so I guess let's get going right away. I will try and set up a development container that can replace my current Docker Compose setup. I do have a working Docker Compose setup for my Rails application in here. As you can see, we have 4 different services apart from the app itself, which needs to be built from a Docker file and my source code. We also have a Postgres database, a Redis database, and a Chef server. And I'll try and basically migrate this setup to the dev container spec. And in order to do that, I've already pulled up the dev container CLI repository. I just installed dev container using Homebrew. So we have the CLI in place. And we'll use that, I guess, once we have set up something. Dev container, build dev container up. Yeah, that's something that we'll need once the dev container is in place. Fuller's Novel asks, have you experienced with the framework laptop? I don't have any practical experience, no. I've heard very good things and I'm pretty amazed by their approach. I was quite confident that I'll get myself a framework laptop once I need to replace my current one, because it's the more sustainable approach. However, then I bought my son an old ThinkPad on eBay and realized that old machines can be quite capable too. And in my case, I don't need lots of capacity for a laptop. It's just for working while I'm in the coffee shop, or if I'm at a conference, or yeah, something like that when I'm traveling. And I don't need a 32 core or thread CPU and 64 gigabytes of RAM for that. And I realized, okay, I could simply buy a high-end laptop, or let's put it this way, a laptop that was high-end, say 3 or 4 years ago, and that'll still meet all my demands. And that way it's even more sustainable than buying a new framework laptop, because I'm taking something that's already been manufactured, that's already been used, and I put it to use again. So instead of buying something that is repairable, I practice the reuse principle, and that's even more sustainable. And that, I guess, killed my idea of getting a new framework laptop, as shiny as they are. And as much as I would like to have a framework laptop with an orange bezel around the screen, I think once my current laptop gives up the ghost, I might see myself simply buying a used laptop off the second-hand market and get probably pretty good value for money there. Yes, I did switch the disk in the ThinkPad. It's a T480, so it's the classic ThinkPad with lots of replaceable parts. It came with a spinning Rust hard disk, which I replaced with an SSD. And I also replaced the keyboard. It came with a German keyboard, but I wanted to have the US ANSI keyboard, so I got one of AliExpress for €13. And unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be working reliably. It might be the connection that I did not plug in correctly. I'll have to take it apart again and check it out. It might also be simply that it's an Alibaba keyboard for €13. We'll see about that. He doesn't use the laptop at the moment much anyway. Well, because it's basically broken, because a column on the keyboard doesn't work, so it's a catch-22, I guess. Anyway, yeah, so I'm pretty happy with it. I made one mistake. I didn't read the screen resolution correctly and didn't realize that it has even less than HD resolution, and that shows. It's okay for a play laptop as a kid's first laptop, but I'll be more diligent next time when I buy something used. So yeah, no advice on the framework laptop from me, other than it's definitely worth looking into. By now there should be a lot of reviews that are based on daily practice instead of just preview models. So check those out as well, because I saw at least one or two more critical reviews from framework owners. But those might have been one-offs as well. I'm really not sure. And yeah, do your proper research. And if you want to buy something new, I would definitely recommend looking into framework, but I can't tell that from personal experience. So, dev container. Let me see. There is lots of features in here. I think I tried this repository once before and I couldn't make heads or tails of it. Because now it says I'm disgusted that the one laptop I have has the batteries glued to it. To switch them, I need to use toxic stuff. Yeah, if you can get them out in the first place, I guess. In that regard, I'm pretty happy that I bought a Tuxedo laptop as my current laptop, because yeah, battery replacement is really easy, and they provide you with batteries, so you don't have to buy it off some second-hand market or something. In that regard, I'm pretty happy. And I guess the Tuxedo laptop that I have will hopefully last me a few more years as well, so the question of buy used or buy new won't come up soon anyway. Hopefully. So Puffing asks, what are we working on today? I'd like to set up dev containers for my Ruby on Rails application, and so far I've been using a Docker Compose setup that I built myself, which is working nicely, and I even was able to integrate it nicely with RubyMine. But the dev container standard or specification seems to be the way to go in that regard, to be more portable and to have more tool support and things like that. So I'd like to port my current Docker Compose setup that you can see on the left here. I'd like to migrate that to dev containers. So I'm learning in public here. So let me see how to use the images and features. You can add a dev container to an existing application by creating dev container JSON. Minimum dev container setup would look like this, and then you'd have to reference the features, apparently. Detailed information about the images and features provided by this repository can be found in their individual README files. So let's take a look at that. We have the dev container JSON here. It's using it builds from a Docker file, which is in the same directory. That's something that I'd like to have as well, because at the moment my Docker file is in the root directory of my repository, and that's rather where I would expect the production Docker file if I were deploying this using Docker. The development Docker file should rather be in the dev container directory. So that's one of the things that I'd like to see cleaned up. Context is dot, because that's the current working directory. I guess that's well, it's dot/Docker file. I guess the context is the dev container directory itself. Okay, and then we have here some features here. Common utils probably installs stuff that's necessary for VS Code, and it also installs C Shell. That's nice. Then we have Git. Right, yeah, you'll have to have Git inside the development container to be able to commit stuff. And then it has the Ruby feature where you can define which Ruby version you'd like to use, and it's nice to see that it's possible to define that using an environment variable, and the remote user is VS Code. Okay. And since all these features reference public features, I guess this Docker file alone would already work in setting up the application, I guess. And then we have a bunch of features here, and there's another Ruby feature. I wonder why that is. Let's take a look at the README here. Installs Ruby RBenv and Ruby build. Okay, so I'll still be able to rely on RBenv even. Okay. Even though inside the container I'll only ever have one Ruby version anyway, I guess. Hey, cheers with Apfeldrin. Happy New Year, I guess. Asking, what's your favorite functional programming language? Just a second. Why doesn't mute work? I haven't done any functional programming so far, and I think I would probably try Elixir if I were to go into FP, because Elixir is definitely inspired by Ruby, or at least has some overlap. I guess it wouldn't be totally unfamiliar to me, and so I guess that Elixir would be something that I'd be interested in. Unfortunately, I've never found the time to get into a new programming language in recent years. Maybe 2025 is the year where I'm seriously picking up something new like Ruby, like Go or Elixir. Okay. Yeah, Advent of Code is such a great opportunity to try something that you're interested in. It's just a pity that Advent of Code always is at the end of the year, when it's a mad scramble to get things done and custom requests finished and stuff like that. So rarely do I get to do some fun coding during Advent of Code. What is confusing me at the moment here is, yeah, I'm familiar with having a devcontainer.json file and probably an accompanying Docker file with it. But these features, while they make sense to me, you can add more functionality to your development environment using those. I'm not sure, am I supposed to... Oh, I guess I'm not supposed to copy those in to my project at all, because I guess those features simply feed or get built and put on Google Cloud, so I can pull them from the public container repository instead of having to have them inside my own. Let's see. Yeah, they publish those in GitHub CI, in GitHub Actions. Let's see. QEMU image, GitHub. It's GitHub Container Registry. It's not Google, it's GitHub, yeah, of course. So I can pull them from there. Oh, that is amazing. That makes things so much easier. So I can actually pull the Ruby feature, I can pull the MySQL client feature, I mean the Postgres client feature. Let's see, what does this? Installs needed client-side dependencies for Rails apps using Postgres. It does not install the server-side stuff. Okay, I like this. And so these are the dev containers from the official Rails project, I guess. And I can pull them in. Okay, that is nice. Yeah, let's try this out. Okay, so we already have a dev container directory because I tried setting this up before. So let's create a dev container.json in here. And yeah, we'll start by pulling this in as it is. We'll still have to find out how to deal with the Ruby version environment variable. Do I need a .env file for that? Let's see. But before that, we'll also need a Docker file. And we're using the base dev container image, which apparently is Debian Bookworm. And all it does is define VS Code as our container user here and install a few things for active storage, I guess. Okay. Just with Effelgren says so far, FP languages have been kind of a turn-off to learn. How come? What bound you out with them? So, okay. Let's go and edit the Docker file. All right. So I guess from here we should be able to do a dev container build. Dot? No? Workspace folder. Wasn't there a definition of the workspace folder in there? And if not, why not? Yeah, it doesn't have a workspace folder definition here. It's 8 months old, so it might not be up to date with the current spec. So we'll take a look at more stuff here. Here is a dev article starting a Rails app using VS Code containers. How up to date is this? Let's see. Well, yeah, actually, I think... Why doesn't anything work here? Newton doesn't work. How strange. Give me just a second. Okay, here we are. That's another compose file. We'll get to that eventually. And here they also define the workspace volume. And here's the workspace folder. I guess we'll simply add that to the configuration, and that's part of looks like this goes yeah, it's at the same level as the remote user down here. So we'll add it here. Still doesn't work. Missing required argument workspace dash folder. Oh, it needs an argument. Workspace folder. Dev container JSON will be looked up relative to this path. Alright. Workspace folder. What? Now it does a Docker build. Interesting. Why does the secret thingy not work? While it's building, I'll check this out. Does not do what it's supposed to do. Okay, apparently it's now installing the Git feature, I guess. Muting doesn't work either. Oh yeah, that's why. So I have to change that to microphone. My secret button still doesn't work. And we have an error. Okay. Ruby via RBN didn't work. It looks like it tries to use Ruby build, or it does clone Ruby build and then it tries to install something. I think I know why, because we haven't passed in a Ruby version. So for that to work, we'd probably have to export Ruby version equals 324, or we could simply have to run cat.ruby version. Like this. Let's do another build then. Hopefully it doesn't take as long as it did the first time. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, it's exporting. That means Docker container build was successful this time. Nice. Woohoo! Now we could even do something like dev container up, right? But we still need workspace folder. Do I have to enter this all the time? Here's the dev container CLI. And yeah, apparently I'll have to use workspace folder. Okay. Space folder dot. Aw. Authorization failed for Docker IO. I guess I need to log into Docker. Okay, we can do that. Give me just a second. Now I really need to hide some stuff. I guess we'll have to do a Docker login. Your device is now connected. Login succeeded. Still failed. Full access denied. Well, yeah, VSC dashboard API, stuff like that, yeah, repository does not exist. See, and that's why I gave up setting up dev container last time, because this is all very convoluted and there doesn't seem to be a proper documentation how to set something like that up for the first time. They just say git clone and then dev container up with something that's already working, but this Rust sample where they already have a dev container JSON. Minimal stuff in there. Code spell checker. But mine's minimal too, isn't it? I guess I'll remove the workspace folder here. That might be a source of issues. So let's do another dev container build. And then another dev container up. Do I need to specify base image? No, base image is passed in as a build argument here. Oh, this is really frustrating. Let me see. They set up a Docker Compose file. With a workspace folder so they can actually use the volumes to pull this in. Set bash as the integrated shell. Well, that's fine for me. And then forwarded ports, and that's it. They apparently used VS Code to initialize at least the Docker file, because that's not listed here. And I hate these blog articles that don't show all the moving parts. How about this one? Here's a base Docker file. Okay, they use a Ruby base image. Pretty much like the one that I'm using. Okay. Another Docker Compose. Pretty similar to what I'm using. But that's not dev container, is it? Here they have the dev container JSON. But that just references the Docker Compose file. Oh, that's interesting. So I could use my existing Docker file and Docker Compose file and then simply add this minimal dev container JSON that references just those. Where we say, okay, a service app workspace folder is /app in my case as well. That's perfect. Oh, and they apparently use a neat trick where they have a Docker Compose file in the main directory, and I guess that's the production Docker Compose file. And then they override it with a dev container Docker Compose file that defines a different command for the application container, where the application doesn't start up right away. Instead, they simply go into an infinite loop, so the container keeps running, and the IDE can enter the container and do anything it likes. That is actually quite compelling, to be honest. And then they start using customizations here, where they add extensions like SolarGraph, Rubocop, Remote Debugger. That looks like something I would like to use. Aloha to you too, Moo! Hope you're having a good Tuesday. Let's give that a try, because that would be pretty nifty. So in that case, we'd reduce this dev container. Okay, so they use dev container, but in order to build stuff, they'd have to use Docker Compose build things. Vagrant not being able to contact HashiCorp. Why would Vagrant phone home in the first place? That's such an anti-pattern. Oh, I see. You can disable that though. If that's in the way, that's not a mandatory thing. I think there's a setting in the kitchen definition. All right, happy to help. So we don't have a central Docker Compose file yet, so I guess that'll have to do. Service in this case is app. Workspace folder is app too. Okay, and then we'll have to move the Docker Compose file in dev container, which I do. Find sensible. And I guess we'll also move the Docker file into dev container. And now, if we do dev container build, does anything happen in the first place? Okay, it did quite a few things actually. Let me see. So it ran Docker Compose config. No idea what that does actually, but yeah, okay. Then we have dev container, we have services. It did recognize that we'd like to use Ruby 3.2.4 here. Then it did Docker Compose. Build app, which does make sense. I guess the context now didn't work right. Nope, it picked up the Docker file. But the gem file and stuff isn't there. We need to update the references. Yeah. Okay, so that's easy to do. Let's open the Docker file here, and we'll simply insert the proper directory references here. Let's try again. Another issue. Checksum. Yarn lock not found. Was I wrong? try this again. It still says, now it says /yarn_lock not found. I guess it needs to be a local reference, but to the current directory, not the parent directory. Still says /yarn_lock not found. Command failed. What's your Docker file look like? It's just gem file. And they have to find a root directory so they can reference it easily. That's neat as well. I do like their style. So we can actually, yeah, I do like that. So let's set an env root equals /app. And then we can say $root here, we can say $root here, and we can use that here as well, simply by saying copy that to $root. And they don't have any relative paths here. And then we can use $root here too. Okay. Is this just with the yarn lock? Does everything else work? No, package.json now has the same issue. Okay, it's just the last one, I guess. Enjoy your corporate kickoff, Sir Puffin. Commiserations. That sounds like a very dry affair. Oh man, yuck shaving galore. So they have a central Docker Compose file that actually, for web, spins up a Rails server. And then they use that one. And then they only have the dev container for the IDE. So it's a little bit split here. So I guess dev container is just a side note in this setup here. They already have something running with Docker Compose and a Docker file, and then they just simply create a minimal a dev container file. So the IDE, in this case VS Code, also has access to the application. It does make sense, and it's a little bit like I'm running RubyMine at the moment, where RubyMine simply is aware that there is a Docker Compose definition and uses that, because RubyMine can also use standard Docker Compose as a development environment. It doesn't rely on dev containers exclusively. It does support them. So at the moment I'm using plain Docker Compose and have told RubyMine to use that too. This article also uses plain Docker Compose and uses a minimal dev container JSON file to make VS Code work with the Docker Compose setup. And I guess the only concession they make is that they define a workspace folder, so VS Code finds the application too. And that's why I'm failing with using dev container up starting this. So it's not exactly what I want. I wanted it to be pure dev container goodness. But apparently that's really not trivial. Let's see, here's a pretty recent article, setting up dev containers in Rails. Let's see. They use the Rails new command, I guess. Yeah, it's the Rails to get a dev container from the get-go. And you can use Rails dev container actually to get all that stuff. We could also try and see how that works. Can do that too. So let's do an well, we always have Git, so rm-rf.dev container. And what about Rails dev container? That didn't work because it doesn't get access to a database and stuff, I guess. Yeah, there's no Redis. Things like that. Well, let's do a hard reset. And we could do a DC build. Okay, then we'll do a DC up to get the whole thing launched. That does look okay. And that means we can do an app Rails dev container inside the application container. Let's overwrite everything. I'd be interested to see what the difference in the database YAML is. And let's see what the result is. So that's the Docker file. It defines Ruby version 3.2.4 and then pulls the dev container image. Okay. Then we have a compose YAML. Here it's called Rails app. We build in the parent directory and use the Docker file in here. We pull in the workspaces. Okay. Command is sleep infinity. We depend on Redis and Postgres. That all looks pretty sound. Interesting. And then finally we have the dev container JSON file for our project. It does use the compose YAML file. Service in this case is Rails app. We have the workspaces. We have a GitHub CLI and Postgres client. Container environment variables are defined. We export Rails, Postgres and Redis. And after creating it, it automatically calls bin setup. Wow, the result is pretty nice. It does make sense. So what happens if we do a dev container build? Actually, we could stop this. Because the dev container setup will be more or less a complete clone of our current Docker Compose setup. If it works. Have I finally found a way to get a proper dev container setup here? And it was there all along. Why does my secret button not work? Is there any other button that enables something? Oh, doesn't look like it. Is it an incomplete OBS connection? I had that once before, where some buttons worked and some didn't. Ha! That was easy. Just reinitializing the OBS connection from my companion software for the Stream Deck to OBS. Life can be so easy. Let's see, dev container up. Here we go. Does Docker Compose build? And again, it fails with this strange base image issue. Yeah. Why does it try and pull that from Docker? Why would I push my development environment to the Docker Hub? This is annoying. This is supposed to be something really simple. Turns out it's really tedious. Do I have some strange Docker setting anywhere? That is confusing stuff. Let's see. Is there something that's not supposed to be here? What's in here? Oh, it's just authentication stuff. Let's see if we can find something. Dev container. Error load metadata. Base image. Okay, they actually did delete their Docker config JSON. Yeah, I haven't touched that Docker config JSON in a while. I guess what we can do is definitely say move home dot docker config JSON from JSON with nothing to JSON with dot back. What happens if I do this? Nope, same issue. But there, I do remember there's something else. Is there something like home.config containers? And there's a containers conf. Let me look at that. Or registries conf as well. So I guess that's in my dot files actually. So let's go back to containers registries. There is an unqualified search registries that sets docker.io. I think we'll disable that because I think that's actually the culprit here, because it prefixes everything with docker.io, even if there is an unqualified search. And I think in this case it makes a local search into a Docker search, and that of course breaks things. Let's see how this works. And that also means we could move the docker.io thingy back from that So let's try another dev container. Nope, still the same. Oh yeah, that's because I haven't applied my changes. We'll have to do a just apply. Ah. Is that because this configuration requires some kind of a restart? Full Snobble sharing they applied for Norwegian citizenship. Nice. How long have you been living in Norway? All the best for your application. Is there system control? No, Podman isn't a demon, so there isn't anything running, right? Let me take a look at my other dot files here. What about containers conf? Label false? No idea what that means. It still tries to pull from... I guess it's worth a try to do another build. Maybe it's an artifact of the old build. Image name is dashboard API Rails app without any docker.io. If I try to bring this one up now. They all have issues with their config chains, and I guess we can still try this. Just another build. This is one of the things that I hate most. If some configuration you've been having for ages now becomes a side effect, and stuff that should be trivial to do now gets impossible to do, and you'll have to find out yourself where this side effect comes from. It built Rails up here. And then it tries to load metadata for docker.io. But that's different. Never issued a docker build x command, I don't think. Build x ls. We're not running Docker, are we? Well, we are. No, that's just a Docker socket, okay. And Docker service is disabled, I guess. Because we're redirecting Docker to Podman. And we're using the default builder. Oh, we still have coffee left, haven't we? I guess I have to be more specific. What's that base image here? Base image is dashboard API Rails app. Yeah, that makes sense. And then in accessing dashboard API Rails app, it tries to resolve source metadata for Docker IO library, dashboard API Rails app latest, and that's of course wrong. Where does it come from though? Could it still be the container file thingy? Let's see, I have so we'll apply this. And what about container registries config file? The containers registries configuration file for container image registries. .config containers registries, yep. Unqualified search registries. Hello, Olivier. Welcome to the stack. Nice for you to pop by. Asking which Linux distro are you using? Your GNOME setup looks really good too. Thank you. I'm using Bluefin as my Linux distribution. Bluefin is based on Fedora Silverblue. So it's an atomic Linux distribution, which I really appreciate. I really love how these atomic Linux distributions work because they make upgrades so easy and frictionless. And Bluefin by default uses GNOME as its desktop environment. And I guess I haven't done much to it, apart from setting a background picture and using Dash to Panel, the Dash to Panel expansion, or extension in this case, that doesn't use a dock, but a whole panel down here where it collects all the icons and application. It combines basically the menu bar or status bar up top and the dock at the bottom. That's with the default GNOME configuration, and Dash to Panel combines both. So I have more screen real estate. That's basically everything I've done to it. Because I'm pretty much done with tinkering. I have Dracula as my default theme for everything. And so there's not much tinkering anymore in terms of my whole desktop environment. What I am tinkering with at the moment is my development environment. I'm trying to get dev containers going with my Ruby on Rails application, and that is that turns out to be pretty tedious and challenging. Foxb17 or Foxbit, yeah, Foxbit, I guess, of course has to barge in with I use Arch, by the way. I did use Manjaro for a while, but eventually its bleeding edge approach broke my development environment, and that's when I actually decided to jump ship and go to Fedora Workstation. Because I knew that Fedora wasn't as bleeding edge as Arch and Manjaro, for that matter, but still pretty up to date. And I did enjoy Fedora Workstation. That then made me curious about Fedora Silverblue, which is the atomic variant of Fedora Workstation. And that then got me to Bluefin, because Bluefin is a variant of Fedora Silverblue that is very much geared towards developers. And it's been a love affair for, I guess, 2 years, about 2 years now. And I'm still very happy with Bluefin. It does its updates in the background. I don't even notice them. They only get applied or take effect when I reboot. And if I reboot and something's broken, I can again reboot into the previous operating system install and get on with my work and wait until another upgrade fixes the issue. And that's very convenient. Fullersnabber says, but you never reboot Linux. Well, in this case, it does make sense. It does also make sense from a technical perspective, actually. I mean, you don't reboot Linux because you don't know what's happening, which is the default mode with Windows, I guess. If something doesn't work with Windows, you reboot and hope for the best. That's definitely not the mode that we Linux users do. I know that you're pulling my chain, by the way, but anyway, rebooting Linux does make sense because you want to have your latest kernel in effect. You want to have your latest drivers in effect. In my case, for example, I'm running an NVIDIA card, so I definitely want to have up-to-date drivers running there, provided they don't break my whole streaming setup. Yeah, so not rebooting Linux is not the show of strength that some people think it is. I'm pretty sure that that doesn't apply to you, Fullersnabber, anyway, but I'll leave it out there anyway. Kudos now says, my first and last step in my troubleshooting guide is reboot. If that doesn't work, I'll buy a new computer. Makes perfect sense. In that case, get a framework. Now, that's the containers documentation. And now, does this apply to how or what's the context of that anyway? Containers image. Image is a set of Go libraries. Okay. Deep in the weeds I am today. Container engines will use this. Okay, Podman isn't container engine, but it's also just a socket. We don't have Docker running. There is actually Podman. What is that? I didn't expect there to be any background process. Of course, we have a few toolboxes running, I guess. Right? Yeah, Ubuntu apps and Fedora apps, I guess. So, nope, that's no idea what that numbered. And then there's Podman init build kit D. Build kit D could actually be the issue. Build kit D. What is build kit D? Olivier over on YouTube asks, what are you working on today? I'm almost all my software development happens in Ruby. So when it came to developing a customer interface for my company's hosting platform, I built it using Ruby on Rails. And in order to develop on this application, I am at the moment using Docker Compose. Docker Compose pulls up the database server, Redis, the chef server that the application needs, and the application itself, of course. And then I can develop it locally. This works nicely. But I got curious about the dev container standard or dev container spec that is used, for example, by VS Code, but there's also a CLI application. RubyMine, for example, can also work with dev containers. And I wanted to migrate from my vanilla Docker Compose setup to a dev container setup. And that turns out to be rather convoluted. And at the moment, 2 hours into trying to find out what's wrong, I think it's actually my container configuration here on my system, because I had a setting in place. Let me show it to you. Actually, in containers /registries.conf, I had this setting here, unqualified search registries, docker.io. And that was necessary because I ran into an issue where commands, some Docker scripts or something, tried to access an image, and Podman, which is the container runtime I'm using here on Fedora, did not automatically imply that it needed to pull these images from docker.io. And that's why I set this setting here, unqualified search registries, to docker.io. And now I think this is coming back to haunt me, because when I try to build my dev container, it tries to build the dev container from the base image. The base image is dashboard API Rails app. That's the definition for my dev container. And then it fails because it tries to load the metadata for docker.io library dashboard API Rails app. And of course, I haven't pushed my dev container to the Docker hub. Why would I ever do that? But I think that's this implicit thing where an unqualified image name gets prefixed with docker.io and its registry information, and then of course it fails looking up the image there. And now I'm trying to make the setting that I've uncommented here, or that I could actually just delete. Make that apply, because it doesn't seem to change anything. And my current assumption is that there is something running that still uses the previous configuration. So here we have BuildKit is a toolkit for converting source code to build artifacts. Linux setup. There is a BuildKit daemon, yeah, and that's what I'm running, right? pgrep BuildKit yeah. I think I'm going to kill this, actually. No idea how it got started, but let's see if we can do a dev container build. Let's do another build first. So it might actually be that this hidden setting in my own system configuration caused all the issues that I've been fighting for more than an hour now. It's always like this, isn't it? One year you make a change to something, and another year then it comes back to bite you, and you have no idea that there is a relationship between the two instances. Now, let's see if we get something different this time. I'm not optimistic, to be honest. Nope, same issue. Maybe this is an instance where I actually should reboot my machine. I'm not going to do this during the stream, of course, but since I'm not familiar with all the implications this configuration file had and how I make the change I made take effect, a reboot might actually be the quickest solution. Foxbit says, 1 year ago I switched from Hackintosh to Arch Linux, best way what I could do. NVIDIA done a great job last year, really happy that Wayland works fine for me now. Same, I'm so happy that I can actually now use Wayland, because I had been running into issues. There were issues with X11. I have been running X11 for a long time, not only because of the NVIDIA issues, but also because stuff like OBS seemed to work better. And now I'm happily running Wayland. There is one more issue, and that is the explicit sync that NVIDIA built into their Wayland drivers recently seems to have some strange effects. For example, if I want to share a window or use a window in OBS as a source, and it's on the right of the screen. So if I wanted to use this browser window actually to share, and it's at the right edge of the screen, then the integration into OBS doesn't work. I have to take the window and pull it to the right, to the left a little bit, and then it works. But if I snap it to the right as the second half, as the right half of my screen, then OBS can't grab the whole window contents. So that must be some kind of a bug with the explicit sync that's built into NVIDIA. So there are still small kinks to work out, but all in all, I'm really happy with it. And yes, I also switched from macOS to Linux as my desktop operating system. I've been using Linux as a server operating system for ages. I started Linux system administration in 1993, so that's been a while. Yeah, and back then I also tried to use Linux as my desktop operating system, but it was just too tedious. And then I got my first Mac Mini and realized how simple running a workstation can be. And that got me into the Apple ecosystem for more than a decade. But I got tired of all the sandboxing and stuff that gets in the way of doing proper development on macOS. And so I explored Linux again, and I've been happy ever since. I have the only Apple device I have left is an iPad Mini. Everything else was handed on to family members. Foxbit says, or maybe a Mutter problem? You know, Mutter can sometimes do strange things that don't have fractional scaling yet. Could be as well. It's something with the windowing. As I said, yeah, if I snap the window to the... I can even demonstrate it to you. So I can pull in the browser window. When I switch to my camera, I can pull in just the browser window like this. And now watch what happens if I snap the window to the right half of my screen. Nothing happens, of course. No, yeah, that's broken because it's just the upper half of the window. So if I go back to my screen, you can see here's the sudo buildkit d. That's basically the upper half of this window. And if I go to my browser view, that's all you can see here. And only once I pull this window off and pull it a few pixels to the left, then suddenly you can see the lower half of the window as well. So that's something that is between OBS and its access to window content over Wayland and its desktop portal, I guess. Yeah, so I need to have a little bit of margin over here for this window capture to work. Not too much of an issue, just a minor thing. I have no idea if that's Wayland or Mutter or something in between. We'll see. It'll get resolved eventually. Now. I think I will reboot this machine to try and make headway with this issue. Because at the moment I can't think of anything else that would explain why this whole DevBox dev container process would pull in docker.io, even though it wasn't asked to do that. I think that's still some remnant of my previous configuration, and would be pretty confident that a reboot would make sure that this configuration takes effect everywhere it needs to. But for obvious reasons, I can't reboot my machine right away. So, I guess we'll put this on ice. What did we do? We have a new compose YAML and a new dev container JSON file. There's also a modification in the database YAML. Let me take a look at what Rails did there. Ooh, it completely rewrote it. No, wait. Okay, there are now instructions to install the PG driver. Okay, that's helpful. All these changes aren't actually sensible. Pool was hardwired to 5 and now it tries to pull in the environment variable, and if it can't, it'll use 5. If there is a DB host environment variable, it pulls it in. Here it uses double quotes instead of single quotes, which is my default style anyway. Here it introduces a new database name. Okay, that would be a breaking change. Rest is comments, I guess. For test, it'll keep stuff the same. And it'll use Dashboard API Production as the database, so it changes the database name there as well, which is not going to work because my production database does exist. And it uses username, Dashboard API, and the database password. Okay, so I guess no significant changes. In a few helpful comments though. But we don't need those, so I can actually revert this change. And that means that all the changes I've made so far are in the dev container directory. Do we have a dev container branch yet? Nope, we don't. So I guess we'll create a new branch, dev container. I'll commit everything. Work in progress, migrate to dev container spec. Okay, we'll push this branch too, so to make sure I won't lose it if my workstation goes up in flames. Foxbit says, I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like scaling to me could be a Mutter problem. Would be interesting to see if the same problem occurs on KDE. Yeah, that's one thing where I was about to say where these atomic distributions are a little bit unwieldy because I can't just install KDE as with its packages. But coming to think of it, I could easily rebase my whole operating system as it is to from Bluefin to Aurora, which is the equivalent just with KDE as its desktop environment, and everything would be preserved. It would just replace all the necessary pieces. GNOME would be gone and KDE would be there instead. Then I could try and see how everything works with KDE. and take the same route back if I wanted to switch back to GNOME. So actually these atomic distributions make switching between desktop environments even easier, because you don't even have to have both installed at the same time. You can actually switch operating systems, including their desktop environment, with just a single rebase command. If I find the time to do that, I might actually give this a try. But at the moment I have other more pressing issues, and yeah, so it'll have to wait. As I said, it's not too big of an issue anyway. Now, since this is blocked at the moment, given that I can't reboot, I'll switch modes. I've run out of coffee. Oh no. I guess you know what? I'll make myself a cup of tea, and in the meantime, I'll think of something that we could do next. There are a few things that I'd like to do. Actually, I have quite a few in my bullet journal in front of me. Yeah. I think we'll make a few changes to the Monospace Mentor website with regards to my upcoming courses. But before we do that, I'll take a quick break to make some tea. I'll be back in a few minutes. tea has been prepared. Now it needs to cool a little bit. And now we'll switch gears a little bit. Let me see. Yeah. So something that I'd like to change on the Monospace Mentor website, monospacementor.com, is how we publish upcoming events. So far, I have been using a plugin, and there aren't even any events left anymore because they all expired last year. Okay, so it's time to do something about this anyway. And I don't think I'm going to use the events plugin anymore. It's much more functionality than I ever need, because most of the events that I run for the Monospace Mentor community, that is called the server room, by the way, I do in the community forum anyway. And so I think we'll replace the whole events plugin with a single page that simply lists the upcoming events as far as I have planned them for the year. And this planning has to be something that I'll have to do anyway. So let's see, we have pages, and I guess there is an events page, right? And on this events page, we simply include the events plugin. No, actually, it is probably defined as the events homepage, I guess. So let's take a look at the events settings here. General options. How does this even work? I forgot how the events plugin is even integrated in this. Getting to use plugins like this, here we have it, pages, event pages, wait, permalink slugs, yeah, there's events, and then events categories, events tags. I think we'll simply disable the events plugin, and that will free up the events namespace anyway. That's something we can do. Let me think this through a little bit. In the past, I used the events plugin to publish stuff. We could then add a little bit of information to each and every event. The problem is I don't want to duplicate stuff between the website itself and the community forum. And if I have to change, say I have to postpone an event, I need to make changes in two places, otherwise I'll have inconsistent information. So I guess it would make sense to not have a calendar on there anyway, and guess just announce upcoming events and then reference the forum for detailed information, because detailed information is only relevant for TSR members anyway. So yeah, I'm going to go into the plugins, disable the events plugin. That's one less part of the website that is able to break stuff. Events manager. Deactivate. Balthazar joining us. Balthazar says, I know that Discord events have a calendar objects. Can they produce an iCal feed and use that to syndicate to the website? That's a good idea too. So it's the single source of truth approach, I guess. This might be possible, but it's definitely more challenging because of the closed nature of the discourse forum. I was able to export, say, the RSS feeds for new posts, and that's why they pop up, say, on Mastodon or something like that. But not sure if that's the same is possible with an iCal feed, if that feature is even in there. And given that events are also split between the different membership tiers, it might turn out to be more hassle than it's worth. So, Events Manager is disabled. Plugins like Events Manager are more geared towards if you offer events and then also offer registration for these events on the website. Maybe even you charge for access to events, because Events Manager can do that too. And so this plugin is far more sophisticated than I have need for. And so let's see, is there still an events page here? Yeah, there is. And those were created by the Events Manager. Because I can see there are also sub-pages for events categories, events locations, my bookings, and tags. You know what? I think I'm going to trash these. We don't need any redirects to preserve stuff, because what I will do is I will institute a new events page anyway, so we don't need to have a redirect here. We'll simply add a new page. Upcoming events, or we'll call it upcoming community events. It's going to be under /events. And then I guess we can, that's a page title, so we'll make this upcoming community events as well. I'll have to have a blurb. Here are the upcoming events in the server room, my DevOps learning community, and then we'll link DevOps learning community to the community page. And link the server room to the same page. And then we'll just do headings for the months. Community Hangout. And when is the Community Hangout going to happen? Tonight, actually. Tonight at 8 p.m. UTC. If you're based in the US, that's going to be a little bit earlier. We'll have our monthly community hangout, which is a video call where all the community members can get together and talk about whatever they fancy. There is no limit to what we can discuss, and it's always a lot of fun. So if you'd like to join us, please do so. I'll post the call URL on our Discord server, and the community hangout is going to be free for everyone. It doesn't just apply exclusively to members of the server room yet. You can simply go into my Discord, pick up the Zoom URL and join us tonight at 8 p.m. UTC. Community hangout. Will I make it a table? I don't think so. We'll just say Tuesday. Well, I can't type anymore. January 14th. Well, let's write 14 January, right? 2100 UTC. Community hangout. Then one thing that I'd like to revive is the deep dive sessions. Last year I did several deep dive sessions where I spent an hour basically presenting a specific topic, like my workstation setup, for example. And I'd like to do a deep dive session this month about the Yazoo terminal file manager, because that's a pretty amazing piece of software, and I'm using it more and more. I'll have to determine a date for that yet, but it's going to happen in January. Might actually be next Tuesday next week, because Tuesday evenings are already reserved once a month for the hangout, and I might as well make it a regular occurrence that the server room events are usually happening on Tuesday nights. So then we'll have February. I guess we can determine all the Hangouts dates already. The community hangout is always on the second Tuesday of the month. So in this case, it's going to be Tuesday, the 11th of February. We can abbreviate things here. Community hangout. Deep dive session TBD. And I think I'm going to plan ahead at least for the first half of the year. So let's see. It's again the 11th of March. And of course, a deep dive. We don't have a date yet, so I don't have to the time either. Community hangout. Deep dive session TBD. I think maintaining stuff this way is much simpler than having to use a whole event management system. April. the 8th, Tuesday. Community Hangout, and I guess it makes sense to copy that. And then we have May. Another 13th. Awesome, Balthazar. See you soon. Drive safely. Tuesday, 13th May. And finally, June. And that's the 10th. So community hangouts and deep dive sessions are just two of the community events that are going to happen. Let me see, we have mid-January now. When is a realistic time I'll be able to finish my next course, which is going to be shell scripting for cybersecurity engineers? I guess it'll take me at least until end of February. So we'll say it'll launch in March. Community course, shell scripting for cybersecurity engineers. At least the first cohort of this course. Since this is all community stuff, we'll simply say course, shell scripting for cybersecurity. Call it course launch. Because the course itself will run over several weeks, at this point I'd say it'll probably run over 8 weeks with weekly coursework and a weekly review session. So 8 in-person review sessions in total, I think. But since I'm still working on the materials, it's not set in stone yet. But in March, the course will probably launch. And of course, once I have the course website or the course page ready, we'll link it from the events page as well. That would make perfect sense. And you know, if we want to have this deep dive session in January, we might as well define its date right now. So yeah, let's say we'll do it on the 21st. Let me quickly check if my calendar has anything in there for next Tuesday. Wait, where's my calendar? No, it's not here. That's not what I was looking for. Here we are. Nope, that is perfectly viable. And I better enter this then. deep dive session, and that's going to be available to members of the server room. If you're just joined us and are not familiar with the server room is my DevOps community. It's a learning community where everyone is supporting everyone to grow, to learn, to become better at engineering in general, but especially in terms of DevOps, site reliability engineering, things like that. So that's definitely something that's interesting to many people. And something that I need to check is which membership level is this? Deep dives are silver level and above, so that means in my calendar I need to set it as members only silver. All right. And that means that's going to happen on Tuesday, the 21st of January. Again at 2100. And that's as far as I can plan at the moment. And here we are. /events has been replaced with a simple list of events, and that's all there needs to be. Simplification. Good stuff. I guess I should leave a hint how to take part in these events. If people just land on this page, upcoming in my DevOps learning community. If you're interested in participating in these events, check out the server room. Or learn more about a membership in the server room. Like this. Okay, so community events can be checked off. Nice. And in terms of the course launch, that's going to be a perk that's available to gold members. That's a new perk. I decided to not charge extra for courses because I think it's a good idea, at least as long as I don't have to depend on the revenue from these courses, to make them available to as broad an audience as possible, especially in terms of financials. And so I'm not going to charge thousands not charge hundreds or even thousands of euro for my courses, but instead I make them as accessible as possible, simply because I find it important that people learn about these things from real humans who have actual experience and practice, instead of consuming the growing amount of AI slop that is going around. So that's why I'm going to actually make an edit to my DevOps Learning community page. And, well, we could call them workshops, but that's a different thing, I think. I'd rather add a new item here for courses. And we'll probably have to shift around a few things here. But let's add this at the bottom to start with. So this is going to be an info box, if I remember that correctly. And the icon we're going to use here is... Do we have a screen? No. Do we have a monitor? Yeah, we do. Bing. And then we'll have to change a little bit of the style here. Info box layout presets. I think that's the preset here. And of course, we'll have to change styling a little. How did I do this? Background. No, it's just the thingy itself, right? We have a border in this color and the background in this color. Okay, so that's this. The border is already in the right color, and we'll simply pick this as the other color. That's that, and then we'll have to change the... Is it the media settings? Yep, the icon. Wait, general, no, advanced. Nope, that's not it. Style. Again, is it that? Yeah, icon color is the darker one and border color is the lighter one. Okay, so let's go here. Style, media sector. Yeah, okay. Icon color is dark. Border color is good. We'll call this courses. Community members have access to all my courses. We'll call them DevOps courses. We launch new cohorts regularly, and a membership in the server room is all you need to participate. Something like this. Okay, now how do we rearrange this now? I guess I'd like to put this next to workshops, I guess, and then we'll instead pull Hangouts down there. Okay. Let me see. We'll take the info box. box or the info box? That's the info box. Okay. Let's copy that. Or can I move that directly? Let's try and move that into the place where we have Hangouts. Now they're both in there. Okay. And now let's pull exclusive content over here. And we'll pull the Hangouts down here. And that's it. There's an alignment issue, but that's because... Wait, that's because what? That's because we need the alignment to be... That's the section. Okay. And of course, we'll have to clarify who has access to courses. And that is in here. We'll have to add another item ahead of community workshops, so below all silver benefits, I guess. Courses. And my thinking behind this pricing is for €25 a month, you get access to courses like the upcoming shell scripting for cybersecurity engineers. And if this course runs for, say, 8 weeks, as it looks like at the moment, that means for €50 you get to take part in this course, which is not just a bunch of videos that you get to watch or not. It's going to be 8 weeks of work that you do yourself, and then weekly in-person sessions with me where we review the chapters that we cover that particular week. And so after these 8 weeks, you'll not only have learned a lot of stuff about the topic, but you'd also have had 8 sessions with me where you get your questions answered, where we do additional deep dives on a specific topic and things like that. And I think that's great value for money. And on the other hand, it makes it available to people who can't afford to spend a few $100 or even a few $1,000 on a course that will provide them with useful knowledge to boost their career, maybe get a new job, and or just be able to get a new raise or something like that. For it to be sustainable for me, we'll have to have a lot of community members paying for a silver or gold membership to cover my actual efforts. But that's something that I hope will be possible over time, with people joining the community and basically subsidizing everyone to actually get these courses. So eventually, when I can make Monospace Mentor my full-time thing in later years, I'll be able to do so in a sustainable way. And that's why I'm starting to building up this community now and building up my whole course offerings and things like that, so that in a few years' time I'll be able to rely on this whole community and enjoy teaching and learning with all of you DevOps people. Now, let's save this. Let's take a look at that page. How do I? Yeah, view page. Here we go. So yeah, courses, workshops, deep dives, hot seats. Hot seats are something that we'll need to schedule. I haven't included those in my events list yet because hot seats are driven by members. Hot seats are based on a member presenting an issue or an idea or a project, and then we'll gather and give them feedback or help them crack a specific nut they're struggling with. But that, of course, depends on members volunteering and coming up with a topic that we can do these hot seats around. And at the moment, I haven't been able to schedule one yet. And down here we have DevOps courses built into the Gold membership, so that's amazing. All right. Oh, I'll have to include it in the list down here as well under special discounts. Is special discounts part of this up here? No, it isn't, right? I think we don't need any discounts anymore because I'm not giving discounts on courses, I'm actually giving the courses now. So let's edit that page and I can simply replace that with guided courses. Awesome. Cool. All right, that's another task that I can check off in my list. And it's on the hour 5 o'clock here, which means it's a good time to wrap things up. This has been fun. Has been a little bit tedious with the dev containers. I'll check those out after the next time I rebooted my workstation. And so I guess we could take a look if there's someone we can raid. Let me see. Don't think there's anyone I'm following. Is there? Well, we could raid Honeylicious. Let's do that. Yep, that looks good. So what do I have to do? Guess I have to click here. Nope. Yeah, I do. But before we can do that, yeah, I haven't been streaming for more than 8 years or something, so I'm still struggling with rating people. Shaking my head here. What a pro. Now, what I wanted to do was post our raid message. If you like, copy everything starting from the /me. And now we'll go and raid Honeylicious. I'll be back on Thursday, pretty sure. And then we'll do a little bit more Rails work. Thanks for staying with me, and I wish you a great Tuesday. Don't forget, there's going to be our community hangout later today at 8 p.m. UTC. So if you'd like to join our video call and simply chat with a few DevOps people, then join us. I'll post the Zoom link later, and that's basically it. I'll start the raid. And I'll see you next time. Until then, take care.